The air up here doesn't smell like freedom. It smells like burned jet fuel and entitlement. You ever stood on a Boston rooftop while a Bell 407 tries to land in 25-knot crosswinds? It's like being inside a blender filled with gravel and noise. The rotor wash was whipping my safety vest around, but I didn't move. Just stood there holding my decibel meter, watching this machine wobble down onto my concrete like a drunk pilot on his first solo. Name's Brian Sullivan, 49 years old. Most people think I'm the building engineer. They're wrong. The skids hit hard enough to rattle my teeth. This wasn't precision flying, this was cowboy stuff. The turbine started winding down from a scream to that whistle that drills into your skull. Side door popped open before the rotor stopped. Safety violation number 1. Outstepped Mr. Hotshot himself. Justin Wheeler, CEO of StreamCore Dynamics. His company makes AI-driven workforce optimization tools, which means they fire people with computers. Wheeler was wearing a suit that cost more than my first truck and had one of those practiced smiles. He didn't step down from that helicopter. Guy descended like royalty. I checked my meter. 115 decibels. The limit for this zone was 90 during business hours. That's lawnmower versus chainsaw territory, and this clown was 25 over the line. "Hey, you!" Wheeler shouted over the dying engine. Wasn't looking at me, looking through me. Actually snapped his fingers. Grabbed the bags. We're late for quarterly projections. I stared at him. Work clothes, hard hat, radio on my belt. To him, I was the help. Background noise in his important life. "I'm not baggage handling," I said. He stopped and actually looked at me for the first time. Face shifted into this sneer he probably practiced. "Excuse me? You know who leases the top 3 floors of this building?" "I know exactly who leases floors 33 through 35, I said. "Also know that StreamCore is violating federal noise rules and the building's aviation ordinance." He laughed. Dry, barking sound. Cute. "The wrench turner has a rule book. Listen, pal, I don't have time for this. My pilot needs fuel. Make it happen, or I'm calling your supervisor." Threw his briefcase at my feet. Expensive thud. I looked at that bag, then back at him. That pissed me off. Same attitude that got Scott killed. "You're not registered for refueling," I said, stepping over his bag. "This is drop and go only." "I own this building," he screamed, face turning red. "My rent pays for the concrete you're standing on." He shouldered past me hard and marched to the roof access, punched in the security code, which he shouldn't have had, and disappeared. Standing there alone, I pulled out my phone. Didn't call a supervisor. Opened a file labeled StreamCore Lease Audit V3 and scrolled to Article 14, Section C, Aviation Privileges and Revocation. "Third unregistered landing this week," I muttered. Took a photo of the helicopter's tail number, then his briefcase on my deck. When Anthony Torres from maintenance showed up, he looked confused. "Hey, Brian," Anthony said. "Guy flies like he owns the sky. Want me to take his bag down?" "Leave it," I said. "And Anthony, start a log. Every landing, every decibel reading, every missed radio check. All time-stamped. You reporting him to building management?" I smiled. Wasn't a nice smile, something like that. Here's the thing. Anthony didn't know that building management reports to me. This dump Wheeler complained about? Crown jewel of a portfolio I'd built over 6 years. Wheeler thought he was yelling at maintenance, had no idea he just declared war on his landlord. Look, to understand why I didn't just evict Wheeler right then, you need to know about Scott. 6 years ago, I wasn't building owner. I was Commander Brian Sullivan, 22 years Navy, retiring from carrier aviation. My wingman Scott Rivera went into medevac flying after we mustered out. Good pilot. Could land on a postage stamp in a crosswind. Scott didn't fly rich guys around. He moved trauma patients, organ transplants, people who needed help. Then some tech startup pushed a new navigation system, fast-tracked certification, lobbied the right people, paid consultants to ignore the glitches. Scott's helicopter was their beta test. The system was garbage. Scott filed reports. Company told his supervisors he was resistant to innovation, threatened his job. So Scott flew, had bills to pay. Foggy Tuesday morning, coming into Boston General. Navigation calculated the rooftop 50 feet higher than reality. Computer overrode Scott's manual input. Safety lockout. He hit the building at 120 knots. The settlement was huge. Go-away money. They wanted me to disappear. Instead, I took every cent and bought this building through shell companies. Didn't want a beach house. Wanted the ground they stood on. Here's the crazy part. When I bought this place, I separated the aviation lease from commercial tenancy, created Sullivan Airspace LLC, which holds the rooftop master lease. So technically, my building company leases the roof to Sullivan Airspace, and Sullivan Airspace sublets to tenants. StreamCorps signed their lease 8 months ago. Page 47 had the clause, all aviation activities subject to Sullivan Airspace LLC oversight. Wheeler's lawyers skimmed it, saw aviation access included, high-fived each other. They didn't know Sullivan Airspace isn't a service company. It's a memorial. Back in my office, small room marked building operations, I looked at Scott's initials in my notebook margin. Wheeler was the same breed as the guys who killed my wingman. The move fast, break things crowd. Rules are for little people. You think you're flying, Wheeler? I said to his photo on my security monitor. You're just falling, and I control the gravity. Time to make some calls. I picked up my phone and called Patrick Walsh, my lawyer. Cost me $500 an hour and worth every penny. Patrick, pull wind shear reports for the last 6 years. Get me Daniel Foster from the FAA on the line. I have concerns about structural resonance. Going hunting, Brian? Patrick knew about Scott. Setting a trap, I said, watching Wheeler's face on the security monitor. 3 days later, the fun started. Friday morning, weather turning nasty. Standard protocols call for no fly when visibility drops below 2 miles around skyscrapers. Microbursts, downdrafts, wind shear, stuff that turns helicopters into expensive lawn darts. I was on the roof checking HVAC units when I heard it. That wop-wop getting closer. Not the Bell 407 this time, something bigger. Airbus H-25, corporate chariot for Fortune 500 types. Wheeler had upgraded. He came in hot from the wrong direction, banking over the federal building. Our approach requires north to south to avoid antenna arrays. Wheeler's pilot was cutting corners under pressure. Jesus, my contractor muttered, ducking. The helicopter slammed down hard. Landing struts compressed so far I thought they'd buckle. Wheeler jumped out before rotors stopped. Casual billionaire costume, black t-shirt, $800 jeans, aviators, coffee cup in one hand, phone in the other, spotted me and rolled his eyes. You again? Doesn't this building have other staff? You came in from the east, I shouted over turbine whine. That's restricted. You flew directly over hospital intake vents. He sipped his coffee. Did we crash? Then it wasn't unsafe. It was efficient. I see risks as code to be rewritten. Gestured at the helicopter. Get someone to wash the windscreen. We hit something on the way up. I'm not washing your windscreen. He stepped close, trying to intimidate me. Expensive cologne and stale caffeine. What's your name? Brian. Economics lesson, Brian. My company just closed Series C funding worth $320 million. My time is worth $2,000 a minute. I've spent 3 minutes talking to you. You going to reimburse me or find a bucket? My hands twitched. In the Navy, we had ways of dealing with officers who thought rank made them gods. This wasn't the Navy. Filing an incident report, I said. He laughed and did something that sealed his fate. Finished his coffee, crumpled the cup, dropped it, just opened his hand and let gravity take it. File this, he said, pointing at the litter. Clean it up, wrench turner. Watch that cup roll across my deck. Right then, it became war. I took a picture. Not of the cup, of the pilot, who was looking at me with sorry eyes. Hey, I said, walking over. What's your squawk code? 1200, he muttered. VFR. Altimeter setting, 29.92. Standard pressure. I nodded. Local pressure is 29.86. You were flying 60 feet lower than your instruments said. Pilot went pale. Mr. Wheeler kept tapping the glass, said we were late. I know, I said. Not your fault. But it's going to be your problem. Left the cup where it was. Evidence. Next week I installed cameras around the helipad, tucked them into HVAC housings where Wheeler would never spot them. Wasn't just tracking landings anymore, I was documenting behavior. The footage that came in was gold. Wednesday morning, Wheeler lands and starts screaming at someone on his AirPods. I don't care if his kid is sick. If the deployment isn't finished by noon, he can hold bedside vigil in the unemployment line. Thursday afternoon, brought investors to show off the view. We basically own this building, he lied, gesturing at my skyline. Thinking about putting a putting green up here, maybe a helipad lounge. I laughed into my coffee. Putting green. The weight load would crack the elevator shaft. But Friday evening was the jackpot. Nasty weather rolling in. Smart pilots stay grounded. I monitored building frequency as strobes appeared through the rain. Stream Core 1, this is Boston Tower, I said, deepening my voice. Weather below minimums. Divert to Logan. Pause. Then Wheeler's voice overriding his pilot. Ignore Tower. That's just rent-a-cops. Put it down. Sir, it's really slick up there, pilot argued. Do I pay you to fly or give weather reports? Land it. Watched the helicopter waver in wind, crabbing sideways, missing safety nets by inches. Bounced hard on landing. Wheeler jumped out and immediately slipped on wet concrete, fell hard. Instead of embarrassment, he got furious. Marched to pilot's door, yanked it open, grabbed the guy by his flight jacket. You made me look like an idiot, Wheeler screamed, shaking him. Did that on purpose. Assault. Flight crew assault on an active helipad. Federal jurisdiction. Prison time, not lease violations. I hit save and backed it up to 3 servers, but I wasn't pulling the trigger yet. Needed Wheeler feeling untouchable. Needed him to mess with building safety systems. Monday brought the perfect setup. Code 47 maintenance, mandatory fuel system purge. Helipad closed for 4 hours while we drained condensation from lines. Skip this, you get fuel icing. Fuel icing stops engines. Stopped engines make helicopters into rocks. Posted physical notices on roof access, sent digital alerts to Stream Core ops. Danger, fuel operations in progress. I was in basement monitoring when the alert chimed. Someone bypassed the electronic lock on roof access. Switched to camera feed and watched Kevin Pierce, Wheeler's assistant, ripping down danger signs and keying override codes. Grabbed my radio, operations to roof. You're breaching safety lockout. Fuel lines are pressurized. Do not attempt landing. Pierce looked at the camera and flipped me off. Override authorized by Mr. Wheeler. VIP arrival. Delay your maintenance. My blood went cold. Scott all over again. Just override the sensor. They were gambling with physics. Watch the fuel contractor pack his gear rather than fight suits. Purge incomplete. Water still in the system. 10 minutes later, Wheeler's helicopter landed anyway. Didn't storm upstairs. Went dead quiet. Opened building's liability insurance portal. Froze coverage. If that helicopter crashed with contaminated fuel, Stream Core wasn't covered for a dime. Printed the override log. Walked to 35th floor reception. Need to leave this for Mr. Wheeler, I told the receptionist, sliding over a red envelope. Inside wasn't a threat, just the override receipt and index card. Condensation freezes at altitude. You didn't override a lock, you rolled dice. Get this, rumors started the next day. Small tenant on 12th floor, drone dynamics, engineering students building medical delivery drones. Reminded me of Scott. Smart kids, messy lab. I was in the lobby when I saw trouble by elevators. Kevin Pierce and 2 Stream Core security guards were cornering Ashley Martinez, one of the drone kids. You can't bring that battery pack in here, Pierce was sneering. Fire hazard. Mr. Wheeler complained about electronic smell in the vents. Ashley looked terrified. We have a lease. Ventilation systems are separate. We're the anchor tenant, Pierce said, adjusting his expensive cuffs. We absorbed your space this morning. Management wants it for meditation room. He reached for Ashley's equipment case. Put it down, I said. My voice echoed in the marble lobby. Not shouting, using the voice from when I gave orders on a flight deck. Pierce spun around and saw me. Maintenance guy from the roof. Oh look, it's the janitor. Go fix a toilet. This is executive business. Put the equipment down, Pierce. He stepped closer, trying to intimidate me. Listen, pal, I can have you fired before lunch. Stream Core runs this building. Stream Core leases floors 33 through 35, I said. Drone Dynamics leases floor 12. Their lease runs until 2027. We bought out their lease. Hostile takeover. No, I said. You didn't. Building owner has to approve lease transfers, and he didn't. Pierce blinked. He? Owner is Sullivan Holdings, shell company. I pulled my ID badge from my pocket. Usually kept it reversed, showing only the access card. Flipped it over. Brian Sullivan, owner, principal. Pierce stared at the card, then my face, then back at the card. Color drained from his face faster than fuel from a punctured tank. Mr. Sullivan, he squeaked. I didn't know. That's right. And unless you want to explain to Wheeler why his meditation room just triggered a harassment lawsuit, you'll apologize to Ashley and get your rent-a-cops out of my lobby. Pierce looked like he was going to throw up. Lobby went dead silent. Every receptionist, every guard, every delivery guy heard. Maintenance guy wasn't maintenance. He was the landlord. By evening, Stream Corps staff were looking at me different. When I got on elevators, they stared at their shoes, held doors, looked scared, all except Wheeler, still up in his penthouse office, clueless. That night, I sat in my real office across town, drinking bourbon and watching city lights. Pieces were in position, noise violations, assault video, safety override documentation, lease breach. Time to pull the trigger. Picked up my phone and dialed Daniel. Foster at the FAA. Daniel, it's Brian Sullivan. We need to talk about operations at Site 47B. Yes, tonight. You want to know something? Revenge isn't a dish best served cold. It's a dish best served in triplicate, notarized, and filed with federal agencies. Thursday was execution day. Met Foster at coffee shop across from my building. Old school guy, ex-Air Force, hates cowboys much as I do. Slid the flash drive across the table. Video of assault on flight crew. Logs of safety override. Decibel readings. Lease showing he has zero authority to modify building safety systems. Foster watched the video of Wheeler shaking the pilot. Jaw tightened. This guy has a death wish. He has a god complex, I said. Thinks rules apply to people who fly commercial. Foster closed his laptop. I can pull his operations certificate immediately. Emergency suspension. Do it Friday. He's got board members flying in. Wants to impress the money. Friday it is. Friday morning dawned clear and cold. Perfect flying weather. Wheeler thought it was going to be his coronation. Had no idea it was his funeral. At 8 a.m., the fax in Stream Corps' office spit out a document. Federal Aviation Administration, Emergency Order of Suspension. Same time, Wheeler's email chimed with message from Sullivan Airspace, LLC. Notice of default and termination of aviation privileges. I was in lobby with my coffee when Wheeler stormed out of elevators at 8:15. Frantic, waving papers like they were on fire. "Who is Sullivan Airspace?" he screamed at security. "Get them on the phone! Spotted me by the front desk! You filed that fuel report!" I took a sip of coffee. Filed a safety report. Yes. Mandatory. I'm landing anyway, he snarled, grabbing his phone. "Tommy, ignore the NOTAM. Pick up the board members and bring them here. If you don't land, you're fired." Ran to elevators, heading for the roof. I finished my coffee and followed. Wheeler was already on the pad, pacing like a caged animal, scanning horizon for his helicopter. "Saw me come out of the stairwell. Get off my roof," he yelled. "If you try blocking this landing, I'll throw you off myself." "It's not your roof, Wheeler." Helicopter appeared as dot in the distance. Wheeler pulled out emergency flare gun, waved it, signaling pilot to land. "Last chance," I said. "Call it off." "Fuel my chopper, maintenance boy," he screamed, grinning like he'd won. Looked him dead in the eye. "I'm not maintenance." Pulled out small remote and pressed the button. Instantly, landing lights around pad turned from green to pulsing red. Do not land. Cross blazed to life in center of concrete. Navigation strobes started flashing, field closed. Keyed my handheld radio to emergency frequency. November 449 Alpha Tango. This is Sullivan Control. Landing clearance revoked. Helipad closed. You're violating FAA Emergency Order 78 Zulu. Abort immediately or face license suspension. Helicopter hovering above us pitched forward, banked away, disappeared into Boston skyline. "No!" Wheeler shrieked. "Come back! I order you to come back!" Spun toward me, fists clenched. "You're dead. I'll have your job. I'll sue this building until it's rubble." "You can try," I said. 2 uniformed cops and Daniel Foster stepped out of roof access behind me. "Mr. Wheeler," Foster called. "FAA, we need to discuss your pilot's statement about the assault incident." Wheeler looked at cops, then at me. Arrogance evaporated like fuel vapor. "Brian," he stammered, forcing sick smile. "Look, we got off on wrong foot. I'm under pressure. Surely we can work something out." "Some things can't be bought, Wheeler," I said, turning my back. "Like safety, like respect, like a wingman's life." As they cuffed him, I walked to roof edge and looked out at the city. Helicopter was a speck in the distance. I touched the dog tags under my shirt, mine and Scott's. "Clear skies, buddy," I whispered. Airspace secured. Walked back to elevator, leaving Wheeler screaming at cops that he knew the mayor. He didn't, but I played golf with him Sundays. Down in lobby, Anthony was waiting. "Did we get him, boss?" "We got him," I said. Clear the log, Anthony. Tell the drone kids they can test their aircraft on the roof anytime. Here's what you need to understand about consequences. They don't stop when the cuffs click. Wheeler's arrest was just the opening act. By noon, news vans were parked outside. Tech CEO arrested in aviation assault made the evening broadcast. Streamcore's stock price dropped 40% before trading got suspended. Wheeler's board of directors held an emergency meeting that afternoon. Guess who didn't attend? Their chairman was still stuck at Logan Airport after his helicopter got turned away. By 6 p.m., they'd voted Wheeler out and installed an interim CEO. The $320 million Series C funding? Gone. Investors don't like CEOs with federal charges. The company lawyers spent the weekend in damage control mode, but the video of Wheeler assaulting the pilot had already leaked. Social media ate it alive. Monday morning, Streamcore filed for Chapter 11. 800 employees got pink slips. Wheeler's AI optimization tools turned out to optimize his company right out of existence. But the real kicker? Remember that override incident with the fuel system? Federal investigators found water contamination in 3 other helicopters using the same fuel depot. Wheeler's reckless stunt triggered a nationwide safety audit, cost the aviation industry $50 million in emergency inspections. As for Wheeler personally, federal assault charges, FAA violations, and a civil lawsuit from his pilot. His legal bills hit 7 figures before the arraignment. Had to sell his Beacon Hill penthouse to pay lawyers. The judge threw the book at him. 18 months federal prison, $500,000 fine, lifetime ban from aviation operations. Wheeler went from corner office to federal correctional facility in 6 months. But wait, there's more. Remember Kevin Pierce, his arrogant assistant? Turned state's evidence to save his own skin. Testified that Wheeler regularly ordered safety violations, threatened pilots, and ignored federal regulations. Pierce got probation and community service. Works at a Starbucks now. Streamcore's office space, Drone Dynamics expanded into it. Those engineering students Ashley works with, they're developing medical delivery drones for rural hospitals. Exactly the kind of innovation Scott would have supported. I didn't jack up their rent. Sometimes you do right by good people. The fuel contractor who got run off the roof? Mike Cooper. Gave him a building maintenance contract. Turns out he's ex-Army, served in Afghanistan. We understand each other. No shortcuts, no corner cutting, everything by the book. My building runs smooth now. No more cowboy landings, no more noise complaints, no more rich jerks thinking rules don't apply. I installed better sound insulation, upgraded the navigation equipment, and hired a proper flight operations manager. But here's the thing that really mattered. 3 weeks after Wheeler's arrest, I got a call from Jennifer Rivera, Scott's widow. She'd seen the news coverage. "Brian," she said, "I wanted to thank you. Scott would have been proud." That hit me harder than Wheeler's conviction. Jennifer had remarried, had kids now, she'd moved on, built a good life. But she remembered Scott, remembered what he stood for. He was always talking about doing things right, she said. Following procedures, protecting people. What you did up there, that was Scott. We talked for an hour. She told me about her kids, her new husband, how she'd finished nursing school. Good things, happy things. Scott would have been proud of her too. You know what I realized? Revenge isn't about destroying someone else. It's about protecting the next guy. Every time some hotshot CEO thinks he's above safety rules, he's gambling with someone else's life. Could be a pilot, could be a passenger, could be people on the ground. Scott died because tech bros decided their schedule was more important than physics. Wheeler almost killed people because he thought his time was more valuable than their lives. Same disease, different patient. I didn't just ground Wheeler. I sent a message to every executive who thinks money buys exemptions from reality. Sometimes the maintenance guy you're yelling at owns the building. Sometimes the rules you're breaking have teeth. These days, I run 6 buildings across New England, all with aviation facilities, all with the same ironclad lease language. My reputation in commercial real estate? Let's just say people read the fine print now. Anthony Torres got promoted to head of building operations. Kid sharp, reminds me of young sailors I used to train. Follows procedures, respects equipment, never cuts corners. I'm teaching him the aviation side of things. Ashley Martinez and her Drone Dynamics team, they're changing how medical supplies reach remote areas. Last month, their drone delivered insulin to a diabetic kid during a blizzard. Roads were closed, helicopters couldn't fly, but their little drone got through. That's innovation that matters. That's technology serving people instead of egos. I still keep Scott's photo in my office. Not the memorial shrine I used to have, just a picture of two Navy pilots who believed in doing things right. Sometimes I tell him about the good stuff, the kids building medical drones, the veteran maintenance crew, the quiet satisfaction of running an operation where safety comes first. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Rich jerks who endanger people need consequences. The system works when good people use it properly. Wheeler got out of federal prison last month. Heard he's living with his sister in Ohio, working at a call center. No aviation privileges, no corporate jets, no shortcuts. He follows other people's rules now. Sometimes justice takes patience. Sometimes it takes paperwork. But it always takes someone willing to stand up and say, not on my watch. The sky doesn't belong to anyone. We just borrow it. Time to return the favor with respect.